Hey guys, welcome back this week. These are going to be your notes for 22.3, the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, this can be used to solve absolutely any equation, quadratic equation, that we might give you. There is something called the discriminant, and it's part of the formula. It's the b squared minus 4ac, and this tells us how many solutions the equation has. So if b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, the equation has two real solutions. If b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, there are no real solutions, which is when we use the imaginary, the I. Excuse me. And if b squared minus 4ac equals 0, then there's one real solution. So we're going to practice 3 of these, just checking the discriminant to see how many solutions each equation has. So I'm going to go ahead and write it down, b squared minus 4ac. Okay, and maybe a helpful hint, use it if you like it, don't if you don't want to. But I like to write down my a term, my b term, and my c term. So because I just have x squared, my a is 1, my b is 4, and my c term is 1. So now all I have to do is fill them in. So I have 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1. So 4 squared is 16 minus 4 is 12. Okay, and because that's greater than 0, I have two real solutions. Okay, my second example is 2x squared minus 6x plus 15 equals 0. So my a term is 2, my b term is negative 6, and my c term is 15. So again, the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So b squared would be negative 6 squared minus 4 times 2 times 15. So negative 6 squared is 36. Minus 4 times 2 is 8. Times 15 is 120. 36 minus 120 is negative 84. Because the discriminant is less than 0, I have no real solutions. Okay, and my third one, my a term is 1, b is 6, and c is 9. Okay, so b squared would be 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. So 6 squared is 36, and then minus 4 times 1 is 4 times 9 is 36. So that is 0, and when it's equal to 0, you have one real solution. Okay. So that's helpful in knowing what you're looking for and whether it's solvable or not. Or you're going to have an I in your solution. Okay, the one thing that you need to know when you are solving with the quadratic formula, if the equation is not in standard form, you need to put it in standard form. Which, remember, standard form of the quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So for number 1, you can see it's already written in standard form. Let me go ahead and zoom in here. And I'm going to go ahead and list my a, b, and c terms again. So my a term is 1, b is negative 6, and my c term is negative 7. For today, I would go ahead and write out the quadratic equation that way, or the quadratic formula, so that way you remember it. It helps to put it in your brain. So I'm going to say x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And now all I have to do is plug these numbers in. So x equals negative b would be 6 plus or minus the square root of b squared is negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 7 all over 2 times 1. Okay, you can put this, the discriminant, in your calculator all at the same time. So if you do that, you end up with x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 64 all over 2. Okay, we can simplify the square root of 64. The square root of 64 is the whole number 8. So x equals 6 plus or minus 8 divided by 2. So 6 plus 8 is 14, divided by 2 is 7. And 6 minus 8 is negative 2, divided by 2 is negative 1. Okay, so you will get 2 answers for each problem. Just like, well, 2 answers as long as the discriminant is greater than 0. Excuse me. Even if there are no real solutions, you'll end up with 2. For number 2. This one is not written in standard form, so I'm going to rewrite it. So I have 2x squared minus 8x plus 7 equals 0. Okay, now it's in standard form. So I'm going to list my a, b, and c terms. So a is 2, b is negative 8, and c is 7. So I have x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So now we're going to substitute our numbers in. So negative b would be 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times 2 times 7 all over 2 times 2. Okay. When you plug the discriminant into your calculator, you end up with x equals 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 over 4. Sorry, I was going to write 2 times 2 again. Okay, I can simplify the square root of 8. That is either 2 times 2 times 2 or 4 times 2, depending on how you like to simplify your radicals. So x equals 8 plus or minus 2 radical 2 over 4. Now, a little bit different, or you need to just make note of when you have all 3 terms that have a common factor. So I have 8, 2, and 4. Okay, and those can all be divided by 2. That is a case where you need to simplify. So I'm going to divide all those by 2. So x equals 4 plus or minus radical 2 all over 2. Remember that inside the radical, that 2 is not actually a 2. It's the square root of 2. So you cannot simplify underneath the radical sign. Okay, your homework for this lesson. This is 22.3. It's on page 833. It's numbers 1 through 14 all. I hope you all have a great afternoon.